Hello everyone, welcome to a new tutorial on my channel Everything Everywhere. Today I'll be doing a square motif for a blanket, or you can use it for anything else you want. It's pretty, it has a heart in the middle, and here this is a picture of the pattern for the motif and the blanket, and I thought that they are the same thing, but actually through working I found out that the pattern is not the same as the blanket shown in the picture. Nevertheless, I did it. It looks so pretty, and this is what I'm going to show you today. This is the yarn I got for my blanket, and this is the motif. I'm not going to use this yarn for the tutorial because it will not be very visible. I will use a lighter colored yarn. This is the yarn I'm going to use for the tutorial. It's very beautiful pearly color. I will start by doing 21 stitches. After this, I will do 2 more stitches. Then I will skip the first 3 stitches. This will count as a double crochet. And then I will double crochet in every stitch until the end of the row. It's wise to count your double crochets to make sure that everything is okay. Discovering mistakes at this point is better than discovering them later, because later than this, mistakes are a bitch. It's hard to fix them. You will have to undo a lot of work, and it's very frustrating. In total, you should have 21 double crochets. After this, after you have made sure that everything is okay, you turn the work and you begin your second row. For the second row, you will make 3 stitches. This will count as a double crochet. Then you will work 9 double crochets, one on top of each double crochet from the previous row. When you reach the middle, you will do a buff stitch. I'm pretty sure I misread the pattern. This shouldn't be a buff stitch, but I like it this way, so it doesn't matter. Then you will work 10 double crochets for the rest of the row. For the third row, you will work 3 stitches. Then work 7 double crochets. Then puff stitch. you'll work a stitch, then double crochet on top of the puff stitch from the previous row, then another stitch and another puff stitch, and for the rest of the row you will work double crochets. This should be 8 double crochets. The next row you will work 3 stitches, then 5 double crochets, then a puff stitch, and alternate between stitch and double crochet until you reach after the second puff stitch from the previous row. Then a puff stitch, and then work double crochets until the end of the row. This should be 6 double crochets. The next row, work 3 stitches, and 3 double crochets, a puff stitch, and alternate stitches and double crochets until you get to the puff stitch from the previous row. Work a puff stitch, and end the row with 4 double crochets. The next row you will work 3 stitches and 1 double crochet. Then a puff stitch and continue alternating between stitches and double crochets. Until you reach the end and work your puff stitch into double crochets. The next row you will work 3 stitches and the double crochet. Then a puff stitch. And you will continue alternating between stitches and double crochets until you reach the middle. Then work a puff stitch. It should be on top of the puff stitch from the very first puff stitch in the second row. Then you will continue alternating between stitches and double crochets. And work a puff stitch on top of the puff stitch from the previous row, then end your row with 2 double crochets. The next row you will work 3 stitches in the double crochet, and another puff stitch on top of the previous puff stitch. alternate between stitches and double crochets, but you will have to work only 2 double crochets, and then you will work puff stitch before the previous puff stitch from the previous row. Work 3 double crochets, then a puff stitch, then work stitch, double crochet, stitch, double crochet, stitch, then puff stitch, and end the row with 2 double crochets. The next row you will work 3 stitches, then 3 double crochets, and then you will work puff stitch, then stitch, then puff stitch, and you will work 7 double crochets. This will count as filling. Then you will work puff stitch, then a stitch, then a puff stitch, and end your row with 4 double crochets. The next row is the final row in the motif. You will work 3 stitches and then you will work double crochets until the end of the row, and this is the end of your motif. I don't know how to join these motifs since I got multicolored yarn and I worked my blanket in big rows and I did the motifs next to each other. I didn't work singular individual motifs then join them. You can look it up. I think there are 2 ways to join them. Either you do all the motifs then join them at the end, or there is a way to join them together as you work them. You can play with colors or you can choose to do it the way I did it. Get multicolored yarn and work it just like a regular pattern, one big square.